Hello everyone and welcome back to RNMLABGH. I want to thank you all for reaching the milestone of 100 subscribers. For me, it is a great achievement. Today, as you saw in the video intro, I want to show you a very special musical instrument made with Arduino. The other day, I came across a video of a laser harp. It made me curious, so I did some research and found that most projects were the same, different shapes, but the same core design. They all use laser diodes, which can be expensive. So I said to myself, I want to try building it with LEDs. LEDs are much cheaper, they consume very little power, and they are accessible to everyone. There is also a safety factor. Lasers can be dangerous for the eyes if you don't have experience, especially around children or teenagers. Putting safety aside, let's get back to our project. I decided to start this LED harp adventure and share it with you. I began studying the circuit, the layout, and the design, which, as you know, is very important to me. I looked for a way to build it using simple and low-cost materials, so that anyone who wants to replicate this project can do so easily. Regarding the electronics, we will use an Arduino Mini, 7 blue LEDs, 7 photoresistors, 7 10K resistors, a no LED display, a 2N2222 transistor, one 100 ohm resistor, a small speaker, 4 buttons, 2 pieces of perf board, some jumper wires, and a lithium battery. These are the components we will use. You will find the connection schematic in the description and on the screen during the video. If you follow the video closely, you will see all the assembly steps. first part of the electronics is finished. As you can see in the video, I took a simple straw and covered it with electrical tape. This creates a shield for the LEDs, directing the light beam straight onto the photoresistors. This step is crucial for the project to work perfectly. Now, let's move on to the frame. This phase is also very important because we need to build a structure that is solid, good-looking, and perfectly aligned. The top part, which is the LED strip we built, must be perfectly aligned with the bottom strip of photoresistors. There must be exactly 7 cm of distance between the top and bottom strips. This ensures a perfect light beam on the sensors and prevents external light from interfering with the LEDs. As you will notice, the frame is anchored directly to the electronic part. To build the structure, I am using 2 different types of ice cream sticks and wooden skewers. Everything is assembled using super glue. When it touches the wood fibers, it creates a chemical reaction that makes the structure solid, waterproof, and prevents the wood from warping over time. As you may have noticed, building the frame took some time. I had to perfectly align the electronic parts as I mentioned before. I really like the final shape. It is a design somewhere between vintage and futuristic. It was definitely a lot of work, but that is the beauty of my projects. It is always a challenge to get great results using simple materials in ways they were never intended to be used. Now, let's finish the electronics. I divided the electronic work into 2 steps. This allowed me to complete the frame first and then decide the best placement for the OLED display, the buttons, the speaker, the battery, and the transistor. The transistor, which acts as a small audio amplifier, was mounted on a small female header strip. I used another piece for the speaker connectors as well. I apologize for forgetting to mention in the initial component list that we also need 2 female header strips to host the Arduino Mini. The second part of the electronics is now complete. I have also finished the aesthetic details to give the object a consistent design. As you may have noticed, I chose to run the 4 wires with a display and buttoned externally on both sides. I made this choice because I love the futuristic look combined with the wood. It creates a very unique effect. I decided to add some color to achieve a weathered, rusty wood look mixed with visible electronic components. It is a blend of retro and futuristic styles. I also built a frame for the display using wooden skewers and hot glue. Now let me share a secret trick I've been using for years for coloring wood. It is not a standard method. I use soy sauce. You might wonder why I use cooking sauce on wood, but it is actually a fantastic natural dye. It soaks into the fibers and stays there permanently. It is cheap, non-toxic, safe to use indoors, and dries very quickly. Depending on how many layers you apply, you can achieve any shade you like. I want to clarify one thing: I am not a musician. In the final demonstration, I will show you all the features, but I cannot play an actual song. However, someone with musical skills could definitely play melodies with this LED harp. So, you will only hear random notes today to demonstrate how the system works. Now, let's move to the PC to upload the code that will bring our LED harp to life. Remember to select the correct Arduino board and the right communication port before clicking upload. As always, you can find the code in the video description. Once the upload is complete, we will see the LED harp in action and explore all its features. Keep in mind that by updating the code, you can create many different sound effects. In this specific code, I have included 10 different tones and sound effects. And that brings us to the end of this video. As you have seen, it is a nice project and a bit different from the usual. I have integrated 10 different sounds and effects, along with the VU meter on the OLED display. On the first screen, we see our tracks and effects. On the second, the VU meter. We can switch between them using the first button. The second button changes the tracks, while the other two buttons adjust the modulation. This allows you to get a variety of effects from the same note. I apologize again for not being a musician. I did not want to fake a performance just to show off. I preferred to let you hear the real notes and sounds because I want to be honest with you. My projects are real, not fake. It would have been easy to play a recording and pretend it was me, but that is not my style. Everything you see on my channel is authentic. You might be wondering, why build a harp if I cannot play it? The answer is simple. I love the project and it was a personal challenge. Most people use lasers for this, but I wanted to see if I could do it with simple LEDs. I reached my goal and I am very satisfied. And don't worry, this will be a gift from my daughter, who actually knows how to play. So, the LED harp has found its home and its owner. Thank you again for the 100 subscribers and for joining me once more in my lab. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you all and see you in the next video. Bye.